Hello Nidorinas and Nidorinos, I'm KingNido, and today it is the Petalburg Razors going up against the Melee Rumbles, as both these sides were successful in the debut round of the PokeType League TCG, and they want to continue that momentum here today, as one of these sides will have to lose in this best of 3 series. But remember that last game, regardless of what happens, always counts toward that leaderboard. So with that said, let us know in the comments below who you think is going to win this matchup. Will it be the colorless types? Will it be the fighting decks? Let's go!
3, 2, 1, go!
And it is that full combat deck that will be going first for the Melee Rumbles. It's the early routes deck for the Petalburg Razors as they look to try and disrupt. We can see that they've got those 2 Pidgeots already in hand. It is the Mankey being placed into the active spot for the Melee Rumbles, with that Hitmonlee on the bench, as it is the Rattata for the Petalburg Razors being put into that active spot. And as we said, the Rumbles will be going first. They were the side that did flip heads. They pull out their second Professor's Research. They've also got that Primeape already in hand as they get the Pokemon Flute and the Sandslash. They have the Sandshrew in hand as well, so they're immediately going to put that onto the bench so they can surely evolve it very soon, as it is a Pidgey being taken out for the Petalburg Razors, which is fantastic. They've also got the Pidgeotto already in hand, and may I just add, the artwork amongst those 3 cards is phenomenal, as that Rattata is going to gnaw for that 20 damage onto the Mankey. They need to be careful though, that Primeape, if there's any damage on it, it does an extra 60 damage, but they are going to try for that coin flip by the looks of it with the Mankey, because all it takes is 1 heads and that Rattata will be taken out, and the Rumbles will be able to get the early point as they play their second Professor's Research. They get their second Hitmonlee and the Hitmonchan, but with this Focus Fist they are able to get their heads on the coin flip, so they will be doing 70 damage thanks to that weakness on the Rattata, taking that first point in game 1 here from the Petalburg Razors. Now the Razors need to be careful. They have that Pidgey ready to go. Surely they're going to evolve it into the Pidgeotto, and it is the genetic Apex Pidgeotto, so it only requires 1 energy here to start doing damage to that Mankey, and it will actually be able to do enough. It does do 30 damage, so already Mankey is taken out, so that Primeape in hand is currently useless, and immediately the Petalburg Razors are able to get that point back on the board to level the playing field. Taking game 1 is huge momentum in these matchups, as the Sandslash is put out into the active spot for the Melee Rumbles. That Hitmonlee can only attack Pokemon on the bench, and there's no bench set up for the Petalburg Razors at the moment. You have to wonder, if they get a basic Pokemon, will they be reluctant to put any down, as the Hitmonchan is put out for the Melee Rumbles. They do get that first energy onto the Sandslash, but it requires 2 energy to do that 70 damage. Whereas the Petalburg Razors, they are going to be able to set up this Pidgeot. They get their second Pidgey as well, so if they have 2 Pidgeots on the field by the end, but here it is, it has that drive off ability as well, so it can pull one of the bench Pokemon into the active spot, but they do not have to use it. They can just go for that wing attack and do 70 damage onto Sandslash, and that is exactly what they are doing. So Sandslash, 1 more hit and it will be taken out of this match. And there's that Promo A Mankey being taken out for the Melee Rumbles as well. If it does damage, it does get a little bit of recoil, which is good in setting up that Primeape, but that Pidgeot will be able to take it off in 1 turn, as that Slash does 70 damage from the Sandslash to the Pidgeot, 60 health remaining, as the second Raticate being taken out for the Petalburg Razors, and they're starting to set up that second Pidgey there that is on the bench, getting its first energy. But that wing attack will be able to finish off Sandslash here. They're not going to worry about that drive off ability that could be crucial for this early routes deck in the season A1. And the Razors are able to take the lead, as the Rumbles really need to think who they're going to put out next, and they're opting for the Mankey. So this is a really interesting play to see how they'll go, potentially putting out that Primeape, knowing that it will not be eliminated by the Pidgeot here, but they might use that drive off. It does require 2 energy for the Primeape to get off that damage. It only does 40, but if it has any damage on it, it does do an additional 60, so it would be able to take out the Pidgeot. The second Fearow is taken out for the Petalburg Razors. There's been no Spearow yet, so they get that second energy onto the Pidgey that is benched. As they think about what to do with the Pidgeot in that active spot, they do go for the drive off. The Melee Rumbles need to decide, will it be Hitmonlee or Hitmonchan going into that active spot, and as they're clearly contemplating, they are opting to go with the Hitmonlee, the Kicking Fiend And again, it can only target benched Pokemon, but it's on the receiving end of this wing attack, so it will be taking 70 damage, has 80 in total, so there is 10 remaining. The Rumble's getting out that Pokeball from their deck. They've also got those 2 X speeds that they may desire to play as they get the Sandshrew out thanks to that Pokeball. They do have their second Sandslash in hand as well. There's a very risky outcome for the Rumbles. This Pidgeot is absolutely in full control. They are going to play the X-Speed, potentially trying to get off as much damage as they can onto the Pidgeot here, so they will retreat the Hitmonlee back onto the bench. Primeape going into that active spot. They're looking at that Pokemon Flute. It's not going to be very useful right now. They're thinking about playing it, but they opt not to at the moment. They're going with the fight back. This will do 40 damage to Pidgeot, but Pidgeot is still in this game, and it can go for the drive off. But with that said, it is up to the Rumbles on choosing who they want to put into that active spot. So they will be able to switch back out. They are going to play the drive off again, that being the Petalburg Razors. Surely the Rumbles are going to pick Hitmonchan so that way they stay in this game. Hitmonchan will be able to outlast one of these wing attacks. It will also have 10 health remaining as that energy is being put down on that benched Spearow. Now the wing attack doing that 70 damage. Hitmonchan still in this match, so the Rumbles could play that second X speed, get Primeape back into the active spot and get Pidgeot off the field. And in the process, it looks like they are contemplating whether or not to play that Pokemon Flute and get that Rattata back onto the bench for the Petalburg Razors. They're looking at their hand, they're clearly unsure on the best approach at the moment. They've got the X speed again, so they may want to get the Hitmonchan away from the active spot. This could be a mistake, I'm really intrigued. No, they're just going to put the energy on it, and then they're going to use that X speed to get the retreat. It will not cost any energy, and they get that Primeape into the active spot, and it is going to finish off this Pidgeot. They also play the Sandshrew now, and you have to wonder, could they have played that Sandshrew earlier and put the energy onto it to get that Sandslash ready to go? But with that said as well, the Razors are surely going to want to be reluctant in doing any damage to this Primeape. They do not have a Pidgeotto, but they do have those Fearows that could potentially help chip away at the health of the Primeape. But again, even the Fearow will not outlast a turn, from the Primeape, so they may just have to maximize the damage they can take in game 1, as it looks like it may be going to the Mellow Rumbles. Here it is, this Fearow going with that 50 damage. It can use the attack, but instead they don't do anything. They don't want to do any damage to this Primeape. Very intelligent play, opting to keep Fearow in and prevent Primeape from doing that 100 damage. It can only do 40 damage with that fight back when it is at full health, and that is a very strategic play there by the Petalburg Razors, thinking a turn ahead. They get the Professor's Research as well. They need something big here from their hand. They get an X speed and they get a potion. I do not think that will be enough. They've done everything they could. Now Primeape will be able to do another 40 damage unless they go on the offensive. With that said, the Petalburg Razors did just get Fearow back to 100 health with those 2 potions. They're putting in another energy onto Pidgey here. They need the Pidgeotto so that they can get that Pidgeot onto the active spot, but it is the Pokeball being taken out for the Mellow Rumbles. They have a lot of basic Pokemon in this deck, getting out their second Hitmonchan. They've got a second Hitmonchan and Hitmonlee in hand right now, but they are setting up the Sandslash. They use their potion onto the Hitmonchan as well. It is an easy target, but it is still on the bench, as Primeape is going to be retreated. They're going to put Sandslash in the active spot. It's going to do 70 damage to this Fearow. And again, it looks like the Rumbles may be able to take this one unless the Petalburg Razors can pull something off. They've got that Spearow that they've just taken from their deck. They're going to put it into that benched spot, but it would not be able to outlast the turn from Sandslash. It looks like this game 1 is going to the Mellow Rumbles, but they will get that 50 damage off onto Sandslash before that happens as well. The coin flip determining whether or not a random card will go into the discard pile. It is a Tails, and the Mellow Rumbles are all locked up to take this game 1. The Razors just trying to get some extra points to count towards that leaderboard later on in the season. That could be a very integral decision in that moment. But the Sandslash, the Rumbles showing that respect, not even worrying about placing down the energy. They just get the elimination and they take game 1 here in this best of 3 series. And as we have a field reset, it is the Petalburg Razors flipping heads, so they're going first this time. And they're going to be using that Wake Up Call deck, as it is going up against the Rocky Boulders deck of the Melee Rumbles. The Razors do put out that Farfetch'd into the active spot, as well as placing their Jigglypuff onto the bench. They have 2 Jigglypuffs in this deck, including the Promo A set Jigglypuff. It is Onix being put into that active spot for the Melee Rumbles, and they've got those 2 Brocks, one of them already being in hand as the Pokeball being played for the Petalburg Razors. And there is that Jigglypuff that we just mentioned from the Promo A set. They're surely going to want to put that down because it only takes 1 energy and it doesn't do any damage, but it does put the opposing Pokemon to sleep, so that could be a crucial asset to the side as it does go across to the Melee Rumbles. And immediately they've taken out that second supporter Brock as well. They've got the Giovanni there, they've got the Golem. As they play their Pokeball, they're going to get the Mienfoo, who they will be able to set up on the bench in reserve. It only takes 1 energy. That Onix though takes 3 energy, but it can run straight through some of these normal types. And they do opt to already use one of those Brocks nice and early in this game, as it does go back over to the Petalburg Razors, taking their second Farfetch'd, who only takes 1 energy to start doing 40 damage, but it will not be able to outlast an Onix either. As the Leaf is being played by the Petalburg Razors, they're going to use that Jigglypuff to try and put the Onix to sleep. They do not want to have to deal with it using that 70 damage, because it will be able to run through most of these basic Pokemon on the side of the Petalburg Razors, and that's not even accounting for the weakness that the Jigglypuff has, as it does put Onix to sleep. The Melee Rumbles need the heads, and they do get it, so Onix will immediately wake up. This is terrible for the Petalburg Razors, because they are going to take this Jigglypuff out with 1 more energy put onto this Onix, as they do take out the Giovanni from their deck as well. So they've got the 2 Giovannis in hand. They could use these for that additional damage. They don't need it to get the elimination, they just want it for the scoreboard. But they do go with that Land Crush, doing 90 damage. Jigglypuff wiped off the field here, that table, giving that point away to the Melee Rumbles, as they do have Farfetch put out back into that active spot for the Petalburg Razors. They do get the X speed from their deck as well, as they're going to use that Farfetch'd with the added Giovanni, that additional 10 damage to do 50 damage to Onix, but Onix will be able to return that 70 damage and wipe Farfetch'd off, who only has 60 HP in the A1 set. Rumble's taking out their Graveler now as well. They have not seen a Geodude yet, so they're able to put that energy onto Mienfoo just to help set that up. Again, it only requires 1 energy to do damage, but here is the 80 damage from that Land Crush, thanks to that Giovanni doing the additional 10. And the Melee Rumbles are on track to take Game 2 and win this series. But again, when we go to a Game 3, all the damage, all the points scored in that game will count towards the leaderboard, so they can be crucial for this season, as it is the Wigglytuff being put onto the bench. It does receive the energy, and here is that X speed being played to retreat the Farfetch. They're going to put the Wigglytuff. They want to get some damage onto that Onix by the looks of things. But what the Razors are not aware of is that there is that second Giovanni in hand for the Melee Rumbles that they can play to run straight through this Wigglytuff. It will be doing 100 damage thanks to that additional weakness. So the Melee Rumbles full control, did not drop a point here in Game 2 with that 100 damage taking out the Wigglytuff. And they have taken this series, but we very quickly will be going into our Game 3 with the 2 remaining decks. And the Petalburg Razors now just playing for a bit of pride and those extra points. They do flip their heads as they're using that Safari Zone deck, going up against the Battler's Spirit deck of the Melee Rumbles. Quite a mouthful as it is commentating here, but they do place that Taurus into the active spot with the Lickitung on the bench. They've got that Chansey, Dodrio, and Pokeball in hand. It's the Cubone being placed out for the Melee Rumbles, with that Marshadow being placed onto the bench, that Revenge, that potential to do 100 damage, plus the additional weakness onto those colorless types as well. But again, it is the Razors going first, taking out the Giovanni. They're going to play the Pokeball, potentially get that Doduo, and they do, as they've got the Dodrio in hand. So immediately they're going to place that Doduo down, and they are going to send it over to the Melee Rumbles, looking to make their choice. They get their second Marshadow as well. They can set these 2 Pokemon up nice and early, but they could use that Growl from Cubone. However, Tauros won't be doing any damage, so they're just going to set up Cubone with the Growl. Again, -20 damage, but Tauros requires 2 energy to start doing any damage to that Cubone as the second Dodrio is pulled for the Petalburg Razors, and they can start loading up from their energy zone. That first energy being generated, and they're choosing to place it onto the Lickitung. That will be very interesting to see the potential damage it could do in this matchup. There is the Giovanni being pulled out for the Melamela Rumbles as they start setting up one of those Mars Shadows on the bench for their side. Another Growl. They want to try and make sure that there isn't too much damage being done to this Cubone as the Kangaskhan for the Petalburg Razors has been pulled, immediately placed onto the bench. They can either set that up, but it looks like they might be opting to set up the Lickitung, so it only requires 1 more energy before that coin flip will keep going until it gets a Tails. So the potential for that is huge, as another energy being placed onto the opposing Mars Shadow. So both the Mars Shadows having 1 energy on them each. They only require 2 to be doing damage, so this is good setup from the Melamela Rumbles as the Razors do take out that X speed, and they are going to put an energy onto Tauros now, so they're just in the setup phase of this third game, opting to see what they'll do. But the Melamela Rumbles pull out the Marowak, immediately evolving the Cubone, only requiring 1 energy. It is going to do 60 damage to this Tauros with that Bone Beatdown. Opting not to use that Giovanni on this turn. That Tauros having 40 health left. It comes back to the Petalburg Razors. They've got the Pokeball that they've pulled, immediately trying to thin out this deck, as they are going to pull out that second Doduo card here in this third game. And the Razors opting by the looks of things to load up that Tauros, so it is going to be doing that 50 damage to the Marowak, but that will open the door for Marowak to easily finish Tauros off. You have to wonder, could they have gone for the Lickitung, but potentially they didn't want to use that X speed up just yet, as both these Mars Shadows now have 2 fighting energy on them. So regardless, if Marowak is eliminated when one of those Mars Shadows get taken onto the field, actually they're going to use the X speed. They're going to pull the Marowak back to the bench with 0 retreat cost. They're going to use the Mars Shadow to finish off the Tauros, potentially not wanting to give up a point in this third game. And these are the type of decisions that can impact this season as a whole. Those points will be totaled, even though this is the third game, as the Melamela Rumbles get their first point in game 3 here, potentially not wanting to give up a single one to the Petalburg Razors. Like we said, these are the decisions that could be crucial and determine whether or not a side makes it into Victory Road, our final 5 system, as the Sabrina is pulled for the Petalburg Razors. That Lickitung is all set up in the active spot. 60 damage for every heads until we get a Tails, and they get a Tails straight away. Oh, that's really disappointing. That would have been really cool to see what it could do, but unfortunately what it does is 0 to that Mars Shadow, and this is going to allow Mars Shadow to return another 60 damage, this time onto the Lickitung, thanks to that fighting weakness, as a Marchop has been pulled. There is a Marchoke and Marchamp in hand for the Melamela Rumbles as well. And the Rumbles are going to play that Giovanni as well, so this Mars Shadow is going to do 70 damage to the Lickitung. It only has 20 health left. This is looking terrible for the Petalburg Razors. Giovanni being pulled from their deck. They do load an energy onto the Kangaskhan, who's also a coin flip Pokemon. For each heads, 2 coin flips, does do 30 damage, but here they're trying again with the Lickitung. It gets 1 heads, keep going, it gets 2, 3, 4 heads. It is going to do 240 damage to wipe this Mars Shadow off the board. That is fantastic. The Petalburg Razors finally getting a point, but you have to think Lickitung is about to be taken out, probably by the Mars Shadow, thanks to that additional damage it will do with the Revenge as well. It will do 120 damage to this Lickitung, who only has 20 health remaining. And the potion being pulled for the Melamela Rumbles, immediately placed onto the Marowak just to restore some health, as they're starting to set up that Marchop as well, which they've now evolved into a Marchoke. And here is the Revenge of the Mars Shadow going straight through that Lickitung to wipe it off the board. And there it is, 2 points now for the Melamela Rumbles. They are in full control, looking to clean sweep this series. The Kangaskhan being placed out for the Petalburg Razors. Those coin flips will not be enough to take Mars Shadow off the field, as they do get that Sabrina out of their deck. They've got 2 Sabrinas and 2 Giovannis in hand, but they can only play 1 supporter per turn. And they do load an energy onto one of those Dojoros, but it is the Kangaskhan, as they do decide to take the advice and use the Giovanni. So they are going to get that extra 10 damage, but they need to flip at least 1 head. So they get a Tails, they get 1 head, so it will be doing 40 damage. If it had been 2 Tails, this move would have done 0 even with the help of the Giovanni. Now, they do have the Marshadow, but the Marshadow can retreat because that Marchamp is in hand. They can evolve the Matrick and they can maximize their damage, can the Melemele Rumbles, and this will be massive. They are about to take Game 3 and clean sweep this series. There's the 3rd energy onto the Machoke, there's the evolution, and this Marchamp is about to seismic toss this Kangaskhan into oblivion, 120, wiping it off the board, and the Melemele Rumbles have clean swept the Petalburg Racers, taking all 3 games, and this actually moves them on top of the leaderboard here, whereas the Racers have been dropped down into 6th place. But with that said, Nidorinos, thank you so much for watching. Let us know in the comments below what you thought the best card was, and if you enjoyed what you saw, please leave a like, share, subscribe, but more importantly, always remember, send thanks, and I'll see you when you see me.